The research design is the operationalization of your research project. By operationalizing, I mean making your objectives possible to research. A well-founded research design involves developing a realistic strategy for collecting and analyzing data in a way that is consistent with an underlying methodology. In other words, your ontological and epistemological assumptions. In this course, we will not concentrate on the underlying methodological assumptions. We will rather focus on operationalizing your research strategy. A clear strategy gives you a roadmap for your research. It secures rigor in each stage of your research project, and it helps convince yourself and others that your research findings are valid. While students of social science sometimes are presented with competing philosophies of science as different options on a plate, the reality for most students is that your methodological assumptions are products of your interpretive community. That doesn't mean that you have to adopt anyone's particular research philosophy. You can certainly challenge your own interpretive community. But instead of assuming that you make all these choices from scratch, it is important to understand that your answers to questions like what is worth knowing and how do you generate knowledge about this topic, those are shaped by your interpretive community. So, what is an interpretive community? It is the social context in which you make sense of the world as a researcher. Supervisors and teachers are obviously influential and are likely to wield some authority over your decision-making. But fellow students are also important as discussion partners challenging your ideas and strategies. Another critical part of your interpretive community is the literature you read in order to prepare for your project. This literature is full of assumptions about your research topic, and it gives you access to existing scientific knowledge in the field. Qualitative accounts, statistical information, theories, and so on. No one in your interpretive community will deal exactly with the same research questions as you do. But your research findings would nevertheless have to fit into this social context. In some cases, your findings might challenge existing assumptions. In other cases, you will be conflicted between different viewpoints within the interpretive community. Your job is to design a project that can make an independent contribution, and in order to do so, you must be able to communicate well with that community. A final point is that your interpretive community often will be distinct from your research field. You should be aware of this. If you want to learn about migrant work experiences and you interview two people, one migrant worker and one professor in migration studies, you have in fact done one interview in your research field and one consultation with your interpretive community. These two sources of information should not be treated as equal in your analysis. Both qualitative and quantitative research designs are better suited to certain questions than others. Instead of comparing the two, I will focus on the strengths of qualitative research designs. Australian geographers Hilary Winchester and Matthew Rove argue that there are two types of questions which are particularly suited to qualitative research. The first are investigations of the mechanisms that make up processes and structures in society. If you're interested in how actors act upon structures, and vice versa, how geographical, social, or organizational contexts shape action, a qualitative design is suitable. The other is questions about human emotions and how people act upon these. Qualitative research designs can generate thick descriptions of how places, institutions, and events are subjectively experienced. Of course, this is at a very abstract level. The concrete design is not given by these considerations. Deciding whether you will go on to conduct interviews or focus groups or archival studies or participant diaries, that requires further operationalization.